war, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The battle you are facing is not one of weapons, but of systems. Systems built over generations to maintain a particular balance of power. The most effective strategy for those who are oppressed is not to confront this power directly through violence, but to understand the system that upholds it, and use that understanding to weaken it from within. The force that keeps the oppressed in place is not the iron bars of the prison alone, nor the gun in the street. It is the belief in the inevitability of their position, the resignation to their fate, the illusion of order that has been instilled over generations. Know thyself, know thy enemy, 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. The oppressor is not invincible. They too have weaknesses, and these weaknesses lie in the blindness of their own pride and their failure to reckon with history. They rely on systems that appear unbreakable, that feel insurmountable, but these are merely invisible chains. The truth, the knowledge of the history and the consequences of injustice, is the weapon that will undermine their power. The oppressor does not know the extent to which the oppressed understand their own worth, their own power, and their potential to disrupt the system. This is where the true advantage lies, not in sheer force, but in understanding. All warfare is based on deception. The system of oppression thrives on a false narrative. The stories told to justify injustice, the ideologies constructed to rationalize inequality, are part of the deception. Those who have been oppressed have been taught to believe in their inferiority, taught to accept the narrative that their lives are worth less, that their chances are limited, and that they must be grateful for any semblance of opportunity. This is the illusion that keeps them in check. To win this battle, one must redefine the narrative, dispel the illusions, and expose the truth behind the propaganda. Expose the systems of power, strip them of their deceit, and show those who are oppressed the truth of their own strength. A system based on lies cannot endure forever. Like all things, it will eventually crumble when the truth is revealed. The opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. The oppressor's own arrogance is their greatest vulnerability. They believe themselves untouchable, above the law, and above reproach. They are so entrenched in their privilege that they fail to see the rising power of the oppressed. The more they deny the truth, the more they defend the lies, the more they push the oppressed into desperation, the closer they come to their own undoing. The enemy, in their pursuit of dominance, has laid the groundwork for their own defeat. If your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. When confronted with injustice, the oppressor will often react with anger, fear, or defensive tactics. They will attempt to delegitimize the voices of the oppressed, dismiss them as radical or irrational. But this response is part of the strategy, a way to distract and discredit the challenge. The oppressed, in turn, must remain calm, rational, and focused. They must recognize that the battle is not won through emotional reaction, but through strategic thinking, building coalitions, and exposing the cracks in the foundation of the dominant power. He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious. In this long war of attrition, patience is the key. The oppressor cannot sustain their position forever. Systems built on exploitation are inherently unstable. It is only a matter of time before the truth and the actions of the oppressed begin to chip away at the system. The oppressed must wait for the right moment. When the narrative begins to shift, when people begin to question the assumptions they've held for centuries, when those in power grow too comfortable in their supremacy, the moment of reckoning will come, but it must be timed carefully, strategized quietly, and executed with precision. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. The ultimate goal is not to simply overturn the oppressor, but to restore balance to the system, to create a society where power is not concentrated in the hands of a few, where justice is not a privilege, but a right for all. This will not come through revolution alone, but through a reconstruction of the society itself, through education, through shifting attitudes, and through the creation of institutions that reflect the true values of justice and equality. The oppressed must not simply fight for the end of their suffering, they must fight for the restoration of their humanity, the recognition of their worth, and the acknowledgement of their place in the world.